All right, so the bad fats that you want to know about are any type of, write this down. Fats don't like heat. Fats don't like heat. Many fats are very unstable if you remove them from their source. So the type of fat that's in a soybean is not necessarily bad in and of itself, especially if it's balanced with omega-3 fats. We'll talk about that in just a second. But when you remove it from the plant, so even if it's a cold press like they do with olive oil, when you remove it from the plant, it's very sensitive to light and to heat, and a bad fat goes rancid. Well, the way that vegetable oils are produced or the way they're extracted is a process called rancidification. It's a heat processing. And so the problem is that anytime you have, store-bought corn oil, canola oil, soybean oil, cottonseed oil, whatever. Can you buy cottonseed oil, or do they just put that in food? I don't know that I've ever seen it. Anyways, they're all rancid. They're all bad. So they have very similar effects that like a hydrogenated oil would have. So what bad fats do, so write down bad fats, here's what they do. So just like we understand that sugar causes elevated insulin, inflammation, rapid aging, hormone resistance, here's what bad fats do. Bad fats cause inflammation. Remember, they're the second type of thing that you would eat that would cause inflammation. And they cause cellular congestion. Cellular congestion. All right, what cellular congestion means is that cellular fluidity is the opposite of cellular congestion. Cellular fluidity means that nutrients can get into a cell, waste can come out of the cell. Cell stays healthy. Okay, you have a healthy pond when there's inflow and there's outflow. Same thing with toxicity, okay? Like, as long as what's going out, as long as the outflow is greater than the inflow, you'll stay healthy. If the inflow is greater than the outflow, then you'll get sick. So, bad fats bind up to the cell membrane. And remember how important the cell membrane is. So now we're promoting hormone resistance, and we're promoting poor function of the cell all around. And a bad cell, what's a bad cell? A cancer cell. So this is very cancer promoting when you consume bad fats too. Now here's the cool thing. Don't you want to know the cool thing? The cool thing is that good fats have all the opposite effect of bad fats. Okay? Good fats are one of the most important things for your brain to work right, for your hormones. All your hormones are bound to fat. Good fats are the most anti-inflammatory thing that you can consume. So good fats are really awesome. You want to try to consume good fats. What a good question. The good fats are, it depends on how you're asking the question. Let me tell you one more thing, and then I'll tell you what the good fats are. Your body, you guys have heard of omega-6s, right? And then you've heard of omega-3s, right? So most sources say, so if we say omega-6 and omega-3, most sources say in your body you want a ratio of about 4 to 1 at a minimum, okay? Some people say 2 to 1, some people say 1 to 1, and there's different, like if you're using like your fat ratio therapeutically, there's different ratios for different, if you're trying to help ADD, there's one ratio that, whatever. But in general, you want your ratio 4 to 1 if we're just keeping things simple, okay? Now the average American is 21 to 1.
Wow.
So our diets are omega-6 dominant, to say the least, okay? So when I say the oil that's in the soybean is, you know, it's okay while it's in the soybean, well, it's a 6. All these vegetable oils are 6s. So it's okay in and of itself, but 6s are pro-inflammatory in general, and 3s are anti-inflammatory. So when your fat ratios are like this, then your body's in a pro-inflammatory state, okay? So when we say, what are the good fats? Well, they're all good as long as we haven't changed them, as long as man hasn't altered them from what they were. So a good rule of thumb is the more I've taken it away from something that was natural, the worse off it's going to be. So sugar's bad, but I could argue that aspartame is actually a lot worse. It's a neurotoxin. It's like you got to get rid of that sort of stuff. So a vegetable oil is bad, but partially hydrogenated vegetable oil is worse because that's actually man-made. That doesn't exist in nature. We created it. And with these foods, like and that's called a trans fat. The other problem with something that's taken, like our body was made to like handle the food that was put on the planet for us to consume. It knows what to do with it. Mm-hmm. But when you have a trans fat, it takes your body 102 days to totally eliminate trans fats that you eat. They can't be broken down. Mm-hmm. Like, you know how like we could take a Twinkie and we could put it out on the sidewalk, come back in a week, it looks the same. There's a problem there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, the bugs don't eat it.
Yeah. You know, so there's I like to say there's no like hard like there's no perfect diet for everybody. You kind of have to feel your way through it, but there are some things that apply to everybody. You know, so if we said everybody would be better off not eating Twinkies, we could all agree with that, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So the stuff that we're talking about so far really applies to everybody. So anyways, back to this. So the good fats, like when I think of good fats, I think of raw nuts, even better if they've been soaked or sprouted. I think of avocados. I think of animal products that have been fed what they're supposed to eat. Why is that? Because if you have a grain-fed cow, grains have omega-6s, right? A grain-fed cow, if you eat a piece of like grain-fed beef, 21 to 1. That's the fat ratio. If you eat grass-fed beef, guess what it is? 4 to 1. How cool is that? So, free-range eggs, loaded with omega-3s. You've probably seen like DHA on the eggs or whatever. Olive oil is a great fat, but what do you not want to do to it? Eat it up. It's not a good oil for cooking.
What's a good oil for cooking?
Coconut oil is a good oil for cooking.
Just coconut.
Well, there's other things too. Grapeseed oil can handle heat. So unrefined grapeseed oil can be a good one for cooking. Butter is good for cooking.
Butter, really?
You don't. I'm giving you options.
No, I'm saying, I'm thinking of frying.
Coconut oil. I wouldn't fry anything in anything with coconut oil, personally.
Coconut oil? Okay.
Yeah.
What about avocado oil?
Avocado oil is great. When it's anything that comes from like a vegetable though, you want it always to be cold pressed. So olive oil is pretty much always cold pressed, which is why it's always good. But you got to read the label. Sometimes they'll mix other stuff with the olive oil, so make sure it's just olive oil. Yeah, so it should say cold pressed or expeller pressed if it's not, and if it's coconut oil, it should say unrefined or virgin coconut oil. Those are the things that you're looking for. And we'll talk more about animal products, but for an animal product, so whether it's milk or eggs or chicken or beef or fish, it's got to have been eating what it was supposed to eat. So salmon, wild salmon, like Alaskan salmon, has, we all know it has omega-3s. So cold water fish, like what has your omega-3s is cold water fish and free-range eggs, and walnuts have omega-3s, chia seeds, flax seeds, hemp seeds, those all have the vegetarian version. So the main omega-3s that you have, I don't know how deep you guys want to get, but I'll give it to you anyways. You have EPA, and DHA, which usually will come from an animal source. And then you have ALA, which is the vegetarian source. So that would be flax seeds, for instance, right? You can convert some ALA into EPA and DHA, but it happens very inefficiently. So you can't get all of your essential fat needs just from like flaxseed oil, for instance. You've got to be getting it from somewhere else. Yeah. All right. So does that answer what are the good fat questions?
Mm-hmm.
And do you understand why bad fats are bad?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And seeds and nuts needs to be raw.
Yes, correct. And the reason why is because fats don't like heat. Yeah, so if you're not going to kill yourself by eating some roasted nuts, but like you're not getting the best benefit out of it.
What about the salt?
What's that?
What about the salt?
Salt's great. So what I like to do, like the whole, if you guys, there's a few concepts I want y'all to just bend your head over and just dump them out and never go back. One is the concept of a low-fat diet. That's one of the most damaging lies that we believed for way too long, and it caused more health problems and more disease. So the concept of low-fat diet, or even that that you need to be lowering your cholesterol to prevent heart disease. Taking a drug to lower your cholesterol does not prevent heart disease. But the whole being afraid of fat thing, we want to get rid of that. And then there was one other thing. Salt. Yeah.
There it is.
Why you asked the question. Ding, ding, ding. Yeah, so the concept that salt is bad or that salt causes high blood pressure, not true, okay? Your body needs salt, but iodized refined salt is no good. You want to consume sea salt or Himalayan salt or some kind of natural salt. Salt is good.
Pretty pink.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty pink salt. Yeah, and it'll have, when it's got some color to it, what you have is there's minerals in there, which a lot of people are lacking, which we will talk about in a little bit. Yeah, so what I do, what I think of the ideal sort of nut situation is to soak them. Oh, and there's different soaking times look it up, depending on what type of nut it is. And then while they're still wet, I'll put some sea salt on them, and then I'll either throw them in. You could throw them in the oven on very, very low heat, or put them in, if you have a dehydrator, put them in the dehydrator. And then you have warm nuts. They're sprouted. They're salty. But yeah, and here's another little tidbit. If you're fasting, if you're doing a broth fast or whatever, or if you're trying to get yourself into ketosis, you've probably heard you'll lose a lot of water at first, right? They're like, oh, I lost 5 pounds, but it's probably all water weight, and probably is, in the first couple of days. Well, when you lose all that water, you're losing electrolytes, you're losing salt. And so if you're feeling bad while you're doing a fast, one of the reasons why the cure for that is probably some salt. So if you're doing a broth fast, for instance, add salt to the broth, and you feel better. So, and the same thing if you're doing a lot of exercise where you're sweating a lot, you're probably needing some minerals and electrolytes.
What is the deal with the alkaline water? Because everybody's talking about alkalinity in water. Is that
My
what-
honest answer is I don't know. I've heard both sides. I bought a water ionizer, an expensive one, and my mother-in-law has it now. I really don't know what the answer to it is, because some people say it's good, some people say it's not good. It doesn't matter if your water's alkaline. I don't know. Sorry. That's a good question that I just don't know the answer to. All right. Here's some other classic examples of toxins to avoid. One is fluoride. Yeah. So your water. If you ever hear a story about a community of people where they're all getting cancer. Like the Aaron Brockovich thing, or whatever that movie was with John Travolta, where he was driving the Porsche and he was the lawyer and he lost all his money because he was trying to help these people out. How did they all get sick? The water. Yeah. So the problem with water is the fluoride, but chlorine, and who else knows what's in there? You do not want to drink city water. If you have well water, you should have it tested. And if it's good, then it's good. But otherwise, you know, you could either do like a home filtration system, but you want to make sure that it's pulling out, you know, anything that could be in there, lead, fluoride, chlorine. You know, I don't think like a Brita filter cuts it. Or we just, I still, like, it's been like 2 years since we moved this water bottle, but I still look right here for the water bottle. Used to be a water bottle. But we use Diamond Springs, and they do a reverse osmosis filtration, and I like it. So, but yeah, do something to replace your water. Mold is a very big one, especially around here. But mold is one of the main categories of neurotoxins that could be causing you issues. Pesticides. Now, let's talk about the pesticide thing. The reason why you want to change out your animal products, like if you're trying to like figure out how do I spend my money, the animal products are the most important. You should you either need to source clean animals or be a vegetarian. And so the reason why is because if we have, like, let's say an animal is fed corn. So you have like this corn-fed cow that provided your steak. Well, it took acres, you know, of sprayed corn to equal your steak that you're having. And so it's concentrated. Okay, so it's like the higher up on the food chain, the worse the situation is. So it's concentrated in, you get a lot more pesticides in the meat than you would by eating the plant. Okay? The other thing is that because of the conditions that we raise animals, they use medications on them. And we know medications are toxic, so they end up with antibiotic residues and hormone residues and all that stuff. So the most important thing to source is clean animal products. And if they're local, it's even better. You know, so what I really like is, like, we've been talking about this stuff for years, but we've seen this shift towards, you know, people starting to buy from local farmers. And Celeste, one of my favorite people in the world is Celeste Albers, who's she's a patient of mine, and conveniently enough, she's also a raw dairy farmer. So she brings us milk that we stock in the fridge that you could buy here. But like can we talk about dairy for a second?
Mm-hmm.
All right. With dairy, there's a few things that you want. Number one, so with animal products, that's where you want to go organic. So step number one would be that if your dairy products would be organic. Step number two would be your dairy products would be raw, unpasteurized. Milk as it comes out of a cow, especially if the cow is a healthy cow, so it's consumed grass. So grass-fed's the other thing that you want. With anything related to a cow, you want that cow to have eaten grass. So that's going to have the healthy fat ratio. Remember that? The cow's healthier. It produces much less of a yield, though, than grain-fed, which you didn't realize, like way, way, way less. That's why it costs a lot more to buy grass-fed milk. But anyways, so organic one, grass-fed, raw. Oh yeah. So when it comes out of the cow, it's got healthy bacteria in it. You know, you've heard of probiotics. It's got like a good bacteria profile. It's like got its own ecosystem, just like breast milk would. And so that's one of the benefits of doing the raw dairy. When you pasteurize it, what you're doing is the heat is denaturing a lot of the good fats, a lot of the good nutrients. Pretty much all that was good about it, you've eliminated most of it by heating it up. And trust me, if it was dangerous to consume unpasteurized healthy milk, the whole thing would have been shut down a long time ago. Like, I've never heard of anybody having a problem with it. If as long as the milk is the cows are raised right, the milk is produced correctly. With one of the problems with conventional dairy is they over milk them and the udders get infected, and so what you end up with, that's one of the reasons why they got to pasteurize them, you end up with like pus and gross stuff in the milk. So so you get that. So raw, grass-fed. Did I leave anything out? Oh yeah, and then the type of cow makes a difference too. So you know how some people can't there's two types of casein. There's A1 casein and there's A2 casein. I think I'm going to get this right. A1 casein is in most of dairy cows is very inflammatory, similar to gluten. So two food things that are inflammatory are gluten and casein. Jersey cows produce A2 casein, which does not have the inflammatory properties of the A1. So Celeste cows are Jersey cows, and it's A2 milk. So just a little side note there.
And it's creamy and good.
It's really good, yeah.
It's really good.
Yep. And it's really easy, if you're trying to up your, taking a probiotic is a good idea, but did you have a question?
No.
Okay. But it can't compete with a cultured or fermented food in terms of the spectrum of different species of bacteria and the count. So a good probiotic might have, 10 species with a count in the billions, of like how many bacteria there are. But if you have a fermented food, like kimchi or sauerkraut, or a good kind of cultured dairy, like good yogurt, not like what you would buy at the store, then you could have a count like 30 different species, and the count is in the trillions. So you got like much bigger bang for the buck in terms of repopulating a gut if you're trying to fix your gut. But anyways, the reason why I said that is that it's very easy to make yogurt out of that milk. Would you like to know how? Okay, I'll tell you. So here's how you do it. You take that milk that's back there, and you add something to culture it. The easiest thing to do is to go to the store and buy some organic grass-fed plain yogurt. And you put a scoop of the, first of all, you can heat up the milk a little bit first, but you want it to still be raw, so you don't want to go over like 100 degrees. And then you add the, and you don't have to, but it changes the consistency a little bit. You can try it both ways. But then you add the yogurt to it, and what you're doing is you're borrowing that yogurt's cultures. Sometimes I'll add a little bit of powdered probiotic, like the kind that we sell here, just to up it, put some more stuff in there. And then and then what happens is the bacteria go to work on consuming the sugar that's in the milk. You know what that's called? Lactose, okay? So anything that ends with ose is a sugar, just so you know. So it consumes the lactose. It takes about 24 hours for it to consume all of it. Once it's consumed all of it, then it goes bad, okay? So you can do a culture from anywhere from 6 hours to 24 hours. And the way you do the culture, you put it in something that will keep the temperature around 103, 105 degrees. So I use a dehydrator. You could put it in the oven on low. You could use a crock pot. You could buy a yogurt maker. But anyways, and you could mess around with the time. The longer you do it, the more more potent it's going to be, and the more tart it will be. So fermented stuff will, I like to say there's power in the sour. When you're consuming something that's got like a sour to it, that means it's got good bacteria in it. So, and then what I do is I will take a cheesecloth and I'll tie it to a bowl, and once it's done, I dump it in there and I drain off the liquid. Do you know what that's called? Whey, very good. So the whey drains to the bottom. The whey, and the reason why you could drain it for two reasons. One is you make it more thick. It's like full fat, thick, creamy, good stuff, right? The longer you drain it, the more kind of thick and firm it'll be. But then you also have the whey left over, and you could do all kinds of cool stuff with the whey. So for instance, if you add some whey to the water that you soak your nuts in, guess what? You've now fermented the nuts as well. You could use the whey to ferment vegetables. So just a couple little tricks you can do to up your good bacteria. Or you could just drink it. So another really healthy fast to do is a whey water fast. You can add water to the whey that you have and just drink whey for 4 days. And it's usually easier than a broth fast. You feel better when you're doing it. I don't know how we got on that. Okay, because I was talking about pesticides. And then mercury and lead, heavy metals are the other kind of neurotoxin. Main neurotoxin. All right, now we're going to do something fun. How are we doing on time? 11:30? Vicki and Renee haven't come back with food yet, have they? Okay. All right, so here's another. So I learned a few cool things that over the past year that I'm sharing with you guys. And this is one of the coolest things that I've learned. There's this crazy Dutchman called Wim Hof. And Wim Hof holds a lot of records. Thanks. holds a lot of records for, like he submerged himself in ice water for the longest period of time without his core temperature changing. He had a doctor inject him with some kind of like bacteria that would typically cause all kinds of symptoms, and he worked his immune system to fight it off by himself. He climbed Mount Everest with just sandals and shorts on. He ran a marathon in the Mojave Desert at the, when it was like really hot with no water. Just like all kind, like he does all this crazy stuff with his body. So I'm like, I got to learn how to do that. So he's got this 10-week program that I bought, and I learned how to do it. And so there's all these different things that you can do. But what it really boils down to is these breathing exercises. And I'll tell you kind of the benefits that I've learned of this, and we're all going to do some of them together in a second. And then cold exposure, that's the other big thing. And you could do it like with cold showers, ice baths, there's all kinds of stuff. But what I want to teach you about is the breathing exercises itself, okay? Now, this helps your body to detoxify for a variety of reasons, but one of the main ones is that it fixes low oxygen levels. As you age, your oxygen levels tend to decrease, especially if you don't exercise at all. So if you exercise, you kind of upregulate your body's ability to pull in oxygen. But also this acts as an immune stimulant, which increases, by the way, you were like, your immune system must be strong. One of the things I did when my hand was blowing up is I did these breathing exercises. But it increases white blood cells and provides an environment that kills bacteria, viruses, and mold. The reason why it does that, you're asking about the alkaline water. The thing about the alkaline water is that we know that if the body is healthiest when it's in a slightly alkaline state. And so there are a lot of foods that will increase your body's acidity. Guess what one of them is?
Sugar.
Sugar, very good. So most unhealthy foods make your body acidic. And if your body's acidic, cancer cells love an acidic environment. Bad bacteria, candida, all the stuff that you don't want happening in your body loves it when you're acidic, okay? And then certain things make your body alkaline, certain foods that you eat, but also when you get your oxygen levels high and your carbon dioxide levels low, it makes your body very alkaline. And doing this is one of the ways to make that happen. Lower stress dramatically reduces stress hormones like cortisol and insulin, which are linking specifically to disease. Anytime I did it before, like right before I came out here, I went back and I did a little bit of breathing exercise just to chill myself out, because I actually hate talking in front of people until I'm doing it. But like leading up to it, I'm like, why did I schedule this thing? I always know it's like this. I hate it. I don't want to do it. Can I just drive away? And it's a stem cell accelerator. Stem cells heal and repair injured tissue and organs. Oxygen levels stimulate an increase in stem cell activity by 8-fold. It's the most important component. So these breathing exercises do all that. So I'm going to teach you how to do it right now. Can I borrow your chair? Now when you do this, now, by the way, this works a lot better if you're in ketosis. So there's a retention where we're going to hold our breath, and you'll find that if you're in ketosis, your ability to hold the breath is actually much longer. Okay? So what I want you to do is take a very deep breath from your diaphragm. And by the way, everybody, try to take a deep breath from your diaphragm. Okay. Now, if it was all up here, you're not breathing from your diaphragm. Okay, so if you felt it here, it should come from down below. One way to isolate it is everybody go like this, go like this, go like this. Now take a deep breath from your belly and let it out. That's what it should feel like. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a rapid inhale, and then we're just going to let it go. So you go. You don't breathe out all the way, you just let it go. So the difference between breathing out all the way would be. Okay, I'm just letting it go. Breathe in, let it go. All right, now we're going to do 30 of those. You ready? It's going to be weird, but we're going to do it anyways.
We're going to get high.
We're going to do what?
We're going to get high.
A little bit high, yes.
Yeah,
So what's going to so here's what's going to happen
Yes,
over the course of the next 30 seconds. We're going to be kind of hyperventilating. Our carbon dioxide levels at some point are going to get really low. Okay, when you're and the other thing you want to kind of be thinking about or visualizing is your body's just opening up for oxygen to go in. Your organs are filling up with oxygen. The cells of your muscles are just filling up with oxygen. We're just charging it up, okay? So as your body gets, just like, what the heck are they doing? As your body gets charged up, you will start to feel a little like lightheaded, euphoric, exactly, okay? And that's when you know you've sort of hit that place where you're like full of oxygen, your carbon dioxide's low. What we're going to do at that point is we're going to breathe all the way out, we're going to breathe all the way in, and we're going to exhale all the way, and then we're going to hold it, and then you're going to be very surprised at how long you're able to hold your breath. Okay, you ready? Start now. All the way in, let it go. Close your eyes and relax. Now when you feel like you have to breathe in, you want to wait till you really feel like you got to gasp for air. Breathe in all the way, and you hold it for 20 seconds. Remember to hold it. When you breathe in, hold it. And then you can start breathing normally again. And when you're done, open your eyes just so I know you're done. If you do it right on the exhale, so like on what they call the retention, it's like everything stops. You know, you're, especially if you're by yourself, you know, you're not doing it around full of people. But everything stops, and you feel really like chilled out and peaceful. And because you're not breathing, everything's quiet, and you become extremely body aware. And then on the inhale, you just get this charge of oxygen. If you're closing your eyes, sometimes like your pineal gland, your third eye, will kind of come to life, and you'll see like colors. You pick up on that. You'll see like colors in your pineal gland. So all kinds of cool stuff happens. And that was one round. It doesn't get really good until the third round. It builds up, yeah. So and like you'll get to where you can exhale and hold your breath. Like my longest is 2 minutes 45 seconds. Like, would you ever think you'd be able to do that? Like, hold your breath on an exhale for 2 minutes and 45 seconds? So, anyways, the way I started incorporating this, and there's different there's different stuff that you could do. Like the way he teaches it, you do either 3 or 4 rounds of it, and like I said, it intensifies as you do it. And then then you do one more round, and on your final round, you exhale all the way, and then you do something physical, like you do push-ups, and you'll find that you can do more push-ups without any air in your lungs than you could before. It changes your physiology. So some kind of exercise. At the end of that, I like to do like some yoga stretches, take advantage of all the oxygen in my body. So there's different ways that you can do it, but that's part of my morning routine. That's the first thing that I do. So I wanted to share it with you. And then the other thing, the next step is the cold exposure, and there's different versions of that, but you can like after you do the breathing, you could get into the cold shower and breathe deeply for like 30 seconds, and then turn the warm water back on, and then at the end of the shower, do 30 more seconds of cold. But what that does is that our bodies have adapted to like shoes, and like we don't do as well with cold the way that we should. And so it helps your body adapt better to cold, and it trains it to be able to build heat from the inside, and it strengthens the immune system response. It does all kinds of cool stuff. So cold showers is another cool like body hack that's worth checking into. All right, I think the food's coming in, but we're not going to eat yet. Hold on. So any questions on that? Did you guys feel that? Mm-hmm. Yeah? Yeah, so anyways, it's really killer for like clearing out your head. And when I want to talk about morning routines. That's a part of my morning routine that we'll get into. All right, so couple more things on nutrition, and then we'll eat some nutrition. So a good place, you guys have heard of the paleo diet. A good place to start is moving towards the paleo diet. The three basic changes. So this is not paleo, but this is the three things that should apply to your regular diet at least 80% of the time. So if like 20% of the time you eat, some crap, whatever, you could probably get away with it. But 80% of the time you want to follow these three rules. The first one is that we want to change out the bad fats for good fats. We want to make that switch, which means you have to read labels. So if you're reading a label and the first ingredient is enriched wheat flour, what do you think in your brain? Sugar. If the second ingredient is canola oil, what do you think? Bad fat, exactly. And I know now, because I wrote it down, and if you teach this to somebody, you will own it. Like, you should teach this to somebody, you should go through your notes and teach people a few of the things that you learned, and then you'll have this like ownership of how your body works and how food affects your body. It's a good place to be. It's an empowered place to be. But we know that bad fats cause inflammation and cellular congestion. The second thing we want to do is change the meats that you're eating, and this would include any kind of dairy product, eggs, any animal products. We want to switch out those meats. And either buy them from a farmer's market, and don't be afraid to ask them questions. Celeste was going to speak, and she was going to say, like, you should ask them how their animals are raised. They should be willing to let you actually, go see it. So do that. And then remove all refined sugar from your diet. Now, inevitably, when I talk to people about if you're doing the paleo diet or the healing diet, so if you're trying to fix hormone resistance, or if you're trying to fix inflammatory problems, those three basic changes are not good enough. You have to take it a step farther, which is where I'm going to show you. And one of the things you have to get rid of is all grains altogether. All grains are inflammatory to a certain extent, some worse than others. But whenever I tell people that, somebody will always say, what about oatmeal? Like, because we always think of oatmeal as being like, it seems like good, But the problem with it is that if you look at a 12-ounce can of Pepsi, it's got 42 grams of carbohydrates. Oatmeal and milk, and this is, once again, pasteurized, typical milk, has 40 grams of carbohydrates, almost the exact same. And when you look at the blood sugar rise, this is a group of people, their average was 89 before they drank the soda. Their blood glucose an hour after was 156. Oatmeal, it was 113. An hour after, it was 163. So you're getting pretty much the same kind of spike in insulin and blood glucose with whole grains as you do with a soda. Whole wheat bread, it was 93, then it was 141. Whole wheat toast and milk, 103, went up to 173. So A1 casein causes insulin to be released. So if you read, have y'all heard of Tim Ferriss, 4-hour work week, 4-hour body? On the 4-hour body, he has a diet plan where he says don't do dairy because dairy causes an insulin release, but it's mainly this type of dairy that will do that. And then the 5 basics of a paleo diet or a healing diet, whatever you want to call it, are, so once again, this is if we're trying to fix hormone pathways, if we want to decrease inflammation. And this is kind of like, we're not all the way into like a ketogenic type diet. I would call this kind of an intermediate sort of thing. But number 1, no sugars. And that would include even what might be considered a healthy sugar, like raw local honey or maple syrup or something like that. Like that has good things to it, but right now we're trying to heal those insulin receptors. We're trying to get the inflammation down. So for a period of time, you could do stevia. Okay. Yeah, stevia does not cause insulin to be released. No grains, not even whole grains, because they will still convert to sugar too fast. You want to increase your good fat. So this diet should be considered a low carbohydrate, or really a moderate protein, moderate carbohydrate, but high fat diet. We're not really going low carb here, but we're removing certain types of carbohydrates. know what I mean? Check your fruit. Now, the reason why you want to check your fruit is because they have a lot of sugar. The ones that you can get away with on this type of plan and still get your insulin levels down and heal your hormone receptors are berries and Granny Smith apples, because they're the lowest on the glycemic index thing. So you can get away with some of those. And then we want to check our protein intake. Unless you're doing a lot of like resistance exercise, you could utilize more protein. But otherwise, you want to check your protein intake to 15 to 25 grams per meal, depending on like how big you are. That would be like 3 eggs, or a piece of meat, like approximately like the size of a deck of cards, something like that. And the reason why, you guys know now, right? Is everybody? Do you know why we want to check our protein intake?
Yeah.
Because we can burn it as sugar. Remember that? Gluconeogenesis. And then I'm going to make a couple of supplement recommendations, and then we'll eat some food. Okay. So today's inorganic produce has lower nutrient content than 45 years ago because the soil conditions are depleted. So once again, bang for your buck, you're not getting as much nutrient content out of your food. When comparing the content of 43 crops per 13 nutrients, scientists found that the average decline ranged from 6% to 38%. It means you'd almost have to eat twice as much of some of these things to get the same nutrient content from 40 years ago. Supplements are not a recommendation, they're a requirement for optimal health and healing conditions. So of these things I'm going to show you, I don't do all of them all the time, but I do some of them some of the time, okay? I like to switch up what I do. One thing that's really good if you want to alkalize yourself, get lots of nutrients, and if you're not good at eating vegetables, is a greens, like a green drink supplement. We have one called Paleo Greens that I like. We'll go through these each individually. Healthy fats, because you're probably low in 3s compared to 6s. If you're like most people, I just supplement with 3s. One of the best ways to make a third of your meals better, so like let's say you're doing 3 meals a day, is breakfast is usually the worst one. If you're like standard American diet, it's like sugar and grains, and right, is to switch out your breakfast for a shake.
That's what I had this morning.
Very good. Did you learn that from me?
Yes.
All right.
Paleo stuff here.
Right.
Eggs.
What's that?
I had farm eggs.
Yes, you can. I'm not saying you have to do a shake. There's all kinds of things
okay.
you can
I
do.
just said what
I'm
I
just
had.
saying that, like,
Okay,
you know,
sounds good.
what a lot of people are used to doing is eating cereal or having a Pop-Tart or a Nutri-Grain bar, or you know what I mean? Like that's what a lot of people do.
Yeah.
So yeah, you don't have to. I mean, you could have a salad for breakfast. You don't like breakfast doesn't have to be any particular thing other than like we've made it that way. But here's my shake recipe, which is a really good way to like get like a ton of good nutrients in. Coconut milk, full fat coconut milk. You could also use raw grass-fed milk. You know, if you feel okay with dairy. Some people just don't do well with dairy, but yes, ma'am.
Coconut milk, huge difference from coconut water. It has a lot of saturated fat in it, doesn't it?
Coconut milk does, yes.
Yeah, so that's okay.
Yes, it's great. That's the other. Remember, I said I want you to like dump some things out of your brain. One of them is that saturated fat is bad for you. Saturated fat is great for you if it's the right type of saturated fat. So if it's red meat that's grass-fed, it's good. If it's MCT, you know, medium chain triglycerides that are in coconut products, awesome.
So coconut milk was okay? I didn't.
Coconut milk's great. Yeah.
Okay.
How about coconut almond mix?
Mixing coconut milk and almond milk? Yeah, you can do that. If you want to, like, because coconut milk can be a little thick, so if you want to thin it out, you could either add some water or you could add some unsweetened almond milk, which is fine. I like to do either the coconut milk or the dairy because they have the good fat. So I'm trying to put fat in there. You can put other stuff in there too, but I like coconut milk. The coconut milk that comes in the carton, have you seen that? That's not the same thing. I don't know what that is, but it doesn't taste. It's like a taste void. Like it's like, I don't know. So coconut milk in a can is what you want.
With no additives, because there's a lot that have stuff
What's
added.
that?
There's a lot of cans that have additives, though.
It's true.
You have
Yeah.
to watch
Ideally,
out.
it's just got coconut, and then maybe some kind of like stabilizer, like guar gum or something like that. But what do they have in them? That's like there's something that you
I don't know. We were looking the other night, and we only found one brand that didn't have anything added to it.
at a regular store or at a
At Walmart.
okay. Yeah, it's you probably safer if you like go to Earth Fair or something like that and get it and stock up. So, anyways, coconut milk, some kind of protein. So if you're okay with if you're not a vegan, you could. What I like the best is whey protein. But most whey protein is garbage. What you want to find with whey is it should follow all the rules of dairy. And what are those? Grass-fed and raw. So it should say raw or undenatured whey protein, and it should say it comes from a grass-fed cow that hasn't been given hormones or antibiotics or anything like that. Same thing. And then I add a handful of spinach. So the top two foods on the highest nutrient density foods are kale and spinach. Kale tastes like something. Spinach in a shake tastes like nothing. Which I think is a good thing, because I don't want to taste spinach in my shake. Yeah.
I make spinach.
I like it okay, but like if I'm having like a chocolate shake, I don't want it to be a chocolate spinach shake. You know what I mean? And then I add some.
Taste the spinach, you won't even know what's in there.
Exactly. Well, that's true. That's
in your head.
That's well. My point is that you don't taste it. Okay. So and then I add some berries to it too.
Okay.
So berries like high nutrient content, lots of antioxidants. Bright colors, good. Unless it's like Fruity Pebbles or Skittles or something like that. But we don't have to teach that, do we?
No.
All right. So that's my morning shake, and you can add other stuff to it. If I'm in a yogurt making mood, I will use the yogurt for the shake. If I'm trying to after I nuke my system with thieves oil, I needed to add some probiotics in. So I'll put some probiotics in my shake as well. We use a powdered kind that's real easy to put in there. So you can just do a ton of stuff with a shake, and it's fast, it's easy, it cleans up quick, it's filling, it gives you sustained energy with that MCT oil. See, the thing about coconut oil is that it does not convert to fat effectively. It likes to be used as energy in the body.
And the chocolate.
It is great, yeah, it's delicious, it's super creamy, yeah. So, come alive, there we go. So anyways, when we're in the middle of a blizzard like we are now, some vitamin D is a good thing to say. I can't believe you guys showed up. I'm surprised you didn't go and get water and milk and bread and stuff.
Yeah, we were almost snowed in.
Were you?
Yes.
It was pretty scary. If you're not sleeping well, if you're stressed a lot, I highly recommend Adrenatone and Be Supreme. And never ever ever buy supplements at Walmart or CVS or something like that. You're wasting your money. They're not absorbable. They're not good quality. Most omega fats are tainted with mercury, so they have to be molecularly distilled. Most of them aren't. So anyways, these are my recommendations. One is paleo greens, like I was talking about. Omega Vel Ultra. Now here's a little tip for you guys who take fish oil. Oh, thanks. I'll talk about this in a second. If you take fish oil, if it's got vitamin D3 and vitamin K, it exponentially increases the effectiveness of the fish oil in your body in terms of your ability to utilize it and all the positive effects. So it costs a little bit more, but I like it because it makes it work real well. And then if you want to get, let's say you have any kind of inflammatory thing going on, and what it's really good for is a flamed up disc. So if you have low back pain, a real high dose of anywhere from 3 to 6 grams. So you'd have to take 6 of these pills to get 6 grams of omega-3s. Has a real strong anti-inflammatory effect on the thing that causes. So for instance, if you have a disc problem, there's a chemical called prostaglandin E2 that's going to work on the disc, and EPA. Remember EPA? Mm-hmm. EPA directly opposes prostaglandin E2. Isn't that cool? Well, I think it's cool. And then you want a toxic-free protein. So if you don't want to do, if you're a vegan, you could change it out for pea protein is the most common thing. It's a little more chalky. I don't like it as much, but it'll give you a lot of the same good benefits. The one cool thing about whey is that raw whey is a precursor to glutathione. Your body produces glutathione as a detoxifying agent. If your glutathione levels are low, you can't detoxify. So there's certain foods that are really good at raising glutathione. One is pomegranates, and one is raw, undenatured whey.
For like a whey protein, if it's ion filtered or anything like that, that's no good?
I don't know what that means exactly. It has to be, what I would ask or look for on the bottle is that it's either raw, unpasteurized, or undenatured. It would have to say one of those things. But I don't know about the ion filter thing. You know about that? No. And then adaptogenic herbs and B vitamins are fantastic for helping your body adapt to stress. Once again, if you're not sleeping, if you're feeling stressed a lot, I highly recommend for a period of time you do some adrenal support. I put people on 2 of these 3 times a day as a starting dose. And then there's another one called B Supreme that is good to add to this. This has some B vitamins in it, but
What are you drinking?
what's that?
What are you drinking?
This is what comes in this Ketopia thing. So it's like the most common ketone supplement sort of things that you would get are exogenous ketones in the form of ketone salts, beta hydroxybutyrate, and powdered MCT oil, and that's what this is. It's those 2 things. If you look up, there's another one. If you just want to see with this, you have to also get like the dough bite and the shake thing, and so it's kind of cool. But there's another one called Keto Kana, which is Kana, that you could order off Amazon or whatever. It's just the beta hydroxybutyrate. So if you want to try some exogenous ketones, see how they make you feel, cool stuff.
What's that taste?
You just lost everyone.
On which part?
Which part?
Oh, the whole all the big words?
He talks too
Sorry.
fast for you to write it down, that's what it is.
It's exogenous ketones. Oh, I gotta tell you one more thing, and then we're gonna break for lunch. Where did it go?
Right there, behind you.
Oh, thank you.
There you go.
All right. Another thing that I found, another discovery I've made that I think is really good is collagen protein. One of the benefits of doing bone broth, making your own broth, if you want to do that, we have a recipe for it, but is that you get collagen out of the bone. And collagen is very healing for your skin and your joints. And this collagen protein is fantastic. Rach had this knee problem, and since she's been taking this, her knees have been feeling a lot better. I was having shoulder issues. I don't know if it was from adjusting people or what, but my shoulders were feeling iffy, and I started taking this. My shoulders were feeling better. So here's another thing, another form of protein you can put in your shakes. And we buy this from draxe.com, A-X-E. And his and if you're looking for like some things where you like, you know, maybe like a newsletter where you constantly get some cool like health info, body hacking stuff, his newsletter is really great too. draxe.com. Is food ready?